All right, guys, welcome to the sixth episode of the COVID-19 survival series by Up Your Game community. The whole purpose behind doing this is to help individuals cope better throughout the situation, especially given the scenario of lockdown, or in Singapore, we're calling it a circuit breaker, or different versions and forms of restricted movements, mobilities that have led to a disruption of people's lifestyles, interaction, communication, business, trade, income, revenue, careers, and all kinds of things. So I think there have been quite a bit of challenge in adapting to this. We have heard a lot of this online through conversations with family and friends. So one of the things that we wanted to do is to create this series where we can bring on board expert panels covering different topics that will help people deal with this better. Not only with this COVID situation, but also with regards to any crisis that may happen, maybe 10 years down the road. But I think the fundamentals primarily remain the same. So last week we have done a lot of the soft topics like meditation, mindfulness, how do we deal with the emotional aspect of it, the physical well-being aspect since mobility is reduced. So we did a lot of that stuff last week. This week we are studying more the how-tos, the more concrete things. So yesterday we had a session on how to stay productive while we are working at home. And one of the things that we all agreed on yesterday was that since this is happening in March, April period, people can get productive, and the productivity can lead to a lot more babies in December and January. So, I think productivity is going to increase. I think that's kind of a consensus that we came up with. Anyways, having said that, today's topic is also important because I think business owners, entrepreneurs, freelancers have been hit quite hard by the change in scenarios and circumstances, especially those who are not ready to move online. They have had to head the shift overnight, and some of them are still grappling to do so. So this today's episode is primarily for those group of people who really need to bring their businesses online further. So before I get into the gist of the conversation, I think let us introduce the panelists first so that we get an idea of who's speaking to us today. So we have got three people, all they're all entrepreneurs in their own rights, and each of them is also an expert on the online space. So we have Imran. I think Imran is almost a legend when it comes to digital marketing in general. He has got a reputation that precedes him. So really an honor to have you on board, Imran. So Imran was running his own business and startup for a very long time. I think almost a decade plus. Imran was doing that. He was helping people basically do this: get online, do lead generation online, get their presence felt online, amplify their positioning online, and develop trust and rapport with their customers and engagement. So Imran has got a really good track record with regards to this. So very valuable insights that we expect from Imran today. Then we have Hamidah with us as well. So Hamidah's company, Social Parrot, Hamidah, correct?
It's Parrot Social.
Parrot Social.
Yes, Parrot Social.
Okay, nice. Parent Social. Parent Social does predictive data analysis. So it's a lot of listening to what's going out there online. I think sometimes it's important when we want to get online, we want to grow our businesses online, or we want to shift into a digital world. We got to understand what people are talking about, what are the trends, what's in demand right now, what's being said about what, how's the reputational standing of certain things. But more importantly, because she's in this business that deals a lot with the digital space and digital noise and clutter, I think it'll be interesting to hear from her as well. And being an entrepreneur, what are the challenges that she is facing, and how has she been able to mitigate some of those challenges and keep the businesses going? So we'll definitely be listening to Hamidah on some of those things. And we have Jivan. Jivan is a social media strategist. So he has been doing social media for a while now. He was in aviation previously, has now set up his own startup, and he set up, especially in the tough time, right smack in the midst of this entire situation. So he's been doing this for the past 1 month, full time, having left his job. So we are definitely going to hear from Jivan as to what's keeping him going, and what will be some advice that he will have for all of us entrepreneurs and freelancers as to how can we optimize the social media space a lot more effectively especially to get out of the clutter, because suddenly we are seeing this overwhelming number of people moving into the space, right? So there's this overwhelming amount of data, information, videos, webinars, content that's suddenly getting out there. So how do we stand out in the midst of all of that? How do we distinguish ourselves, and how do we establish our own unique space and niche? I think that'll be something interesting to hear from Jeevan as well. So let me just give each of them a minute or two to add on to my introduction, because I'm pretty sure they can do a better job than what I've done. So let's start with Imran. Imran, you got 2 minutes, buddy.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Imran. I just want to get everyone to say hi, comment inside who you are, what you do, any questions that you have. Let's make it really interactive. We have a cozy bunch today, so we can really answer any questions that you have. So I've been running companies and been in sales and marketing for the last 12 years. I've helped clients basically make millions online with their lead generation and online marketing. And if you ever heard, for example, of Chatuchak Singapore, Chatuchak Singapore brought Thailand Chatuchak market into Singapore. We got them all onto the news outlets. We got them onto all the influencers. We got them ads and all the vendors coming in. Even during COVID, they were completely crowded. So that's the kind of work that I've done in the past. Today, I basically run an executive coaching company that does inner work. So my skills in marketing, the work that I do today, my mission is to really help people really find their true purpose in life and the work that they're meant to do for a long, long time. And I'm just very happy to be here to contribute.
Great. Thank you so much, Imran. Hamidah, let's hear from you.
Hi everyone, I'm Hamidah. Thanks so much for the invite, Rahul. Rahul and I are actually friends for a very, very long time. So I'm really, really happy to be here with him and with everyone today to share a bit of what I do, and also maybe some insights about what's going on now and what could possibly happen in the next few quarters and even the next year. I know there's been quite a lot of negativity that's been going on in the online and offline space. People feel very threatened, people feel very afraid. So I thought today I'd share some of our insights that we've gathered online and from some research papers as well, to say that actually, much as things may seem bleak, but we can actually be looking forward to certain growths in certain areas, and it's not all doom and gloom. So I thought I wanted to share a bit of that today. But off the record, there's no off the record here, but basically what we do at Pirate Social is really social media listing at the very basic end, but we also do business intelligence for certain clients. Yeah, so back to you, Rahul.
Great. Thank you so much, Hamidah. Yes, we have been friends for a very long time, so this is not going to seem like a panel at all. So same thing with Imran as well. I've known Imran for almost 12, 13 years now. So it's been a long time. So this is hardly feeling like a panel discussion. It's just like a conversation with friends. So really happy to have you guys on board. Jeevan, let's hear from you, buddy.
So hi everyone, my name is Jeevan Jod. I'm actually a startup entrepreneur. Just started this month during the COVID-19 circuit breaker.
Wow.
So my specialty is actually more on Facebook, social media in general. But I'm concentrating on Facebook, on my Facebook branding first, and also Instagram, because it's and that's about it. Actually, that's my startup, and most of Rahul Shah explained to you. He explained very nicely about myself also. And also, if anyone can also try to follow my send me a friend request. Going to send you guys a message. Okay, just click on my Facebook link, send me a friend request, and follow me, and you will be updated on more on how to what posts you should use for your social media channel. I will be talking about tips and strategies on using your Facebook and Instagram.
Right, thank you so much.
Sorry,
so,
a bit nervous.
That's fine. Feel comfortable, buddy. All right, so let's start with Hamidah. Hamidah, let's dive straight into this. You do a lot of listening, so tell us what are some of the insights that you have with regards to the situation right now. How are businesses taking it? How is it impacting freelancers? And what does it look like? I mean, what do you think are the coming trends? Is this going to be like a thing that we are going to be able to wait out, and after 3 months, it's going to be business back to normal, or is there going to be a new normal by the time that we finish? We come out of this.
Hold on, just a minute. Okay, I muted myself. Yeah, I did prepare some slides for today, but maybe I'll just go through a bit of an overview because there are different quarters. When we anticipate how things will happen and develop. Actually, what we see is that sometime in the second quarter of this year or the third quarter of this year, the market prediction is that there would be improvement or progress in terms of for retail, clothes, fashion, even jewelry to some extent. There would be growth in these areas. So that is possibly your July, August. So actually, it's not too far from here. And it's interesting that you mentioned this thing about the new normal, Rahul. I think what has happened now during this whole lockdown period is that a lot of businesses, even government institutions we've always had this conversation that governments are very slow to move, right? That they never wanted to embrace social media, never really wanted to truly open up to this avenue. But the interesting thing is that I think almost everyone is being forced to go online, to communicate with each other via avenues like this. So you are right to say that there would definitely be a new normal when we eventually get better from this. So if I were to go back a bit to what I said in the second and third quarter, these are predictions from also reputable research papers that have said that there would be growth and there would be progress in these areas. In fact, China has improved. China has opened up a little in terms of its manufacturing sector, and we actually hear South Korea also starting to open up now. So in fact, what we are hearing is that there are growths in these areas. Therefore, when superpowers like China open, there is a very high likelihood that in Q2 and Q3, there would be, should I say, a follow-up in trade. We will also see big players like the automotive industry, oil and gas, even insurance picking up in the coming few months towards the tail end of 2020. In 2021, I know the airline industry is doing quite badly at this point. No one's really traveling. No one wants to travel. But perhaps sometime in Q2, Q3 of 2021, we would actually see travel slowly coming back. In America, I think they've predicted that by Q2 2021, domestic travel would pick up back again, and then plus I think later on in 2021, then the rest of the world will pick up in terms of international travel. So you can see travel, tourism coming back again. So that is the, should I say, 6 to 12 month market prediction with regard to what's going to happen. Actually, if you talk about the Singapore market, yes, there still is a lot of worry. So I think 60 to 70% of people are still afraid of losing jobs, of not having employment. But people are still actually spending or saving, should I say, on necessities like education. So the education sector, tuition sector, enrichment sectors is another group of possible, another cluster of possible growth in the coming months, maybe perhaps in Q3 for Singapore. So I would say that, there is possibility for growth. So I think that right now, as entrepreneurs, as business owners, it's the perfect time for us to plan ahead, because we have more time to ourselves, more time to think, more time to reflect. and more time to learn, take new courses or whatever, not online. But it is a good time to prepare because you have a window of about 3 months, maybe 3 to 4 months per se, before things starts to pick up. So yeah, that's a bit of a gist for me. We can talk and share a little more later.
That's really, really, really good to hear, Hamidah. I mean, in the midst of all of this, and there's so much of gloom and negativity. Sometimes that floods our Facebook feeds and Instagram feeds and WhatsApp groups. It's really nice to hear this optimistic outlook to say that, hey, you know what, it's going to be a window of 3 months. We got to tide through this period, but if we manage to stay afloat during this 3-month period, things aren't looking that bad. I mean, a lot of rebound is going to happen with the lifestyle sector, with retail, clothes, fashion, jewelry. By end of the year, we're looking at even things like oil and gas, automotive bouncing back. So I guess that will lead to manufacturing, machinery, mechanicals, all having a revival as a trickle effect downward. As aviation comes back, domestic travel improves next year, tourism comes back in. So by the mid of next year, by end next year, we're looking at probably a good recovery, if not back to normal, at least on the way there. So that's really optimistic, and that's really good to know as an entrepreneur. However, like you said, there will be a new normal. So I think all of this is conditioned to the fact that we are able to adapt and we are able to change the way that business will be conducted moving forward. But that also means that a lot more people are going to be moving forward. So you rightfully pointed out at the start that there has been a group of businesses that were reluctant and hesitant to go full-fledged online. Slow adoption of social media, e-commerce, online platforms. I can safely say this, guilty as charged, right? Especially in the training and development space. And I think Imran will be the first to say, I told you so, right? So this is one of those things where, I consider myself a traditional, conventional trainer, classroom-based trainer, where you just go in, do your job, and you get out. And I've got this entire group of peers that are in the same boat as me, and now you're suddenly being pushed to forcefully to adopt this online space. So with such a big volume that's converting and migrating online almost overnight, I'm pretty sure that it's going to become a very crowded space. So Imran, I think let's hear from you. What is this going to mean? What can we expect? What is this going to translate into as we move forward?
That's a very big question. Let's just put it this way. Maybank just announced that they predict up to 200,000 jobs will be lost in Singapore over the next year. So there are opportunities for growth. It's really what Hamidah and you talked about, which is how can we be mobile enough, adaptive enough so that we can flow where the economy is going. For some people, they may find that their jobs are being redundant and they need to quickly move, like how some airline attendants are now Goodwill health ambassadors, right? And I think it's always much better to be proactive, to say, hey, I'm going to willingly innovate, change, and adapt, rather than regulation and market forces force me to move somewhere that I have no choice to, right? And I think if I were to ask anyone in this room right now, would you rather proactively choose where you want to adapt and move towards, or would you rather be forced to stay home, do this, not do that? Of course, I think everyone would say, I'd rather have my own choice. And I think what is required to make that choice is very tough questioning of ourselves. Like, where can I value add? Where is the market going? What do I know? What can I add value in? How can I adapt to changing times? You talked about trainers and speakers needing to adapt to this market. And I think I've been seeing many of these connections that probably are mutual friends of yours and mine, Rahul, really scrambling to put together their online programs, their online landing pages, their online e-commerce sites, their digital products, and we are really forced into a corner where We have to do it because there's really no other choice. But I think given time and space, the best time to do it is yesterday. But now is probably the next best time to really ask ourselves, to reflect, take stock, what can I value at, to be creative and ask, in this evolving landscape, if jobs are going this way, if economy is going this way, if the money is going this way, then what can I do that adds value to the equation? And for some people, they could be an accountant or an auditor, right? An auditor needs to physically be in an office and look at invoices, but they're non-essential. So auditors don't have work today, right? So a person could be an auditor for 20 years of his life, and now they go, I don't know what else that I can do, right? So for me, I do this on a daily basis where we basically career coach, we career profile, we behavior profile people every day to kind of say, hey, look, you've been an accountant every day, but actually you have these skills and you have these strengths and you like these preferences and you can actually do so many things. So I think if people can do this on their own, or if they can get support from a coach, a career coach, a life coach, whatever it might be that suits them, to give them options, I think that's the starting point today, right? Because otherwise, it's a very big world online out there, many different platforms, many different sites. Like you said earlier in the call, before the call started, hey, just go e-commerce, but there are 1,000,001 e-commerce platforms. Or just go into an e-commerce model, just start an online business, but there are 1,000,001 online businesses, right? What can I do? And I think there's no time to trial and error right now. We need to really move fast to what is our strength. And I think we can do this if we do some good reflection, we do some proper checklisting, some proper checking, get some support around it again. I think that's really important again, because otherwise people will really find that their business cannot operate, their job is made redundant, they know that money is flowing, that people are hiring or that there are vacancies, but somehow they are caught where they cannot evolve, or they are kind of like 10 steps behind that evolution, and they're like, I have a 3-month cash flow gap right now, right? I think many people are kind of like stuck in that situation, and maybe the only option right now is to be a Grab delivery person, but maybe just to make the bills, you can do that. But I would really, really, really recommend that you do some soul searching, really look at what's online. You have people like Hamidah that's putting out lots of information reports. There's a lot of reports out there of what opportunities there are, work from home, e-commerce, online business. And I think that the world's your oyster if you get that internal clarity and not kind of like succumb to the panic.
Fantastic, Imran. I think a couple of things that you brought up were really, really good. I think, one of the things about being adaptable so that you are able to be fluid enough, to move where the trends are. I think that's important. And we are very thankful, at least in places like Singapore, where the government has, over time, over the last 2 years or so, been investing quite a bit in the whole 3 years, been investing a lot in the Skills Future programs, giving us credit to go upgrade ourselves, learn new skills, acquire that, for those of us who have not jumped on board yet, and were never convinced about a need to do it because we thought that we'll always have the iron rice bowl. I think it's about time we jolt out of our comfort zones and say, hey, you know what, maybe it's about time we look into it and really, really try to take this seriously, because lifelong learning cannot be more real than it is today. We all expected the disruption to happen due to technology. Today, disruption has happened because of something that was completely not foreseeable, right? So it's just the kind of world that we are living in, that anything can happen anytime, and let's not be too comfortable in our seats. And that's really very useful. The second point you talked about is how people sometimes don't have the luxury of waiting it out. I don't have 6 months or a year or 2 years, because I think Hamidah might have witnessed this as well during the temporary relief funds application that was going on. You had a lot of professionals coming in applying for that relief fund, and you start realizing how overstretched and over-leveraged people really are. These are high-income earners or mid-income earners, and they just don't have liquidity. They have assets, they have a house, they have a car, but they are so over-leveraged in terms of credit card debts, loans, unstructured loans and facilities, that the worry is, how am I going to pay up for all these things? So it's really interesting about the points that you mentioned. But we will go into that a bit more later on. But talking about lifelong learning, Jeevan, you have invested quite a bit on acquiring new skills, moving from aviation into social media, and you have really upgraded yourself and invested in learning the skills required. So two things here, right? Number one is was it a scary experience making that shift in industry, because it's a completely different world, and from not only an industry, but you have also moved from being employed, so there's some form of stability there, lesser risk, into being self-employed, where there's a lot of a higher risk quotient, right? So what would you have to share about that, Jeevan? And I mean, I'm going to ask you the same question as well, because I can't answer to Imran. Imran has moved the other direction. So I'm gonna ask that to you, Hamidah, because you had also had the same thing. You had a very comfortable
Yes.
job, and you moved.
Yes, I did this crazy thing of jumping over the cliff. Okay, never mind. I'm 2 years into the business already, but Imran, don't give me that look. It was scary at the start, but we'll let Jeevan have the time first.
Yes,
Yes.
let's
Okay.
have Jeevan first, then we'll come
Thank
to you,
you,
Hamidah. Jeevan.
Okay, so how I started off is actually, just give me a while.
Sure.
Okay, how I started off from shifting from being an employee to being self-employed. I started to ask quality questions, when I went to one of the session when Imran was handling one workshop talking about the 5 shift. So and one of the speaker was talking about quality questions. So I asked myself, why am I in this job? What is so terrible for me, and how should I go about it? And I asked myself that, and it helps me build more confidence in myself. And I was able to decide, make a big decision. And it was a scary decision because I'm too used to getting my salary every at the end of the month, and being a self-employed, you will be you will have a tough time to earn because it depends on what clients you have. Because I'm a bit scared, but I'm still determined because I want to have more freedom, and and it makes me more determined in being a self-employed. And other than that is because of the community that I'm in actually support me in this making a decision. Also, my parents also support me, and I feel more confident about myself. I'm more confident in my skills that I learn on the social media, on Facebook, Instagram. So I made a decision to resign from my job last month, 27 March to be specific. And I tell myself it's a very good decision because there's a lot of reasons I wrote down. And just also make me more courageous. I'm a bit nervous also during, yeah, but I'm more happier. Just to be at the end things, I'm more happier. So I make a big step, but I'm more happier now. In my job, I wasn't so happy. I was basically scolding myself in my head every time why I'm in this job. So now when I'm being a self-employed, a freelancer, I'm more happier, and I'm more social, and I have more friends right now. So there's a big advantages I get when I'm being a self-employed. And that's about it lah. I ask myself quality question. I get the support. I have a support group that also support me in making the right decision, and also support me because I'm an employee. I was having an employee mindset, and to shift to a self-employed mindset was a tough thing. I needed support from my parents, and the support group that I get from my coaching, from the coaches and my mentors. So that's about it lah. So any other question?
Yes. So So I think what Jeevan is sharing with us is something that's very valuable, right? Number one, it's important to note that it takes a lot of courage. So I don't think Jeevan is advocating that if you have a job today, please resign and then jump into this or like what Hamidah says, like don't jump over the cliff overnight. Yeah, you need to have a backup plan. You need to have some insurance policy in place before you do that. But I guess what you hear is that sometimes if you have a change of situation or circumstance, you lost your job recently, you've been retrenched, or if you're about to, don't lose courage, don't lose hope. There are options available. You can find alternatives if you put your mind to it. You need to upskill yourself, you need to upgrade yourself, you need to learn and acquire new familiarity with different spectrums and areas of work. So that's a lot of self-work to be done. Focus on that rather than focusing on what is not within your control. Second thing that I think Jeevan mentioned was quite useful to note is having a good support system around you. Support system of family, community, and of course coaches, mentors, people who have walked that path before you. So surround yourself with people who are going to be able to be your shepherds in your time of need and not allow you to get lost. I think it's important to have a positive support system around us. So that's something that's very valuable that Jeevan is reminding us of today. Hamidah, what was your experience like? Because you went from employed to unemployed and then self-employed and then as an employer. So you have had quite a journey.
I think I went through quite a crazy journey, I would have to say. But to be honest, setting up this business was a carefully calculated risk. I did not just jump into it overnight. To be honest, starting up Parrot Social was something that I've already thought of and researched about since August, September 2017. So there was actually a lot of work done. There was a lot of research, from trying to call China to Russia to the States to Europe. I, in a sense, I didn't literally travel the world, but I definitely had to search for information as to what I had wanted to do. I think that was also at the time whereby things like augmented reality, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things were all kind of picking up back at that time. I realized that there was a gap in the market that I think as an entrepreneur I could fulfill. And in all honesty, I also felt after 10 years of being an employee that it was time to do something different, and also to stretch myself. I think that is that little spirit in me that hasn't changed. So till today, even though I'm running Parrot Social and doing all the community work that I'm doing, I love what you say earlier, Rahul, about skills upgrading and continuously learning new things. Because even at this stage, yes, I kind of definitely need to learn from my team with regard to the more technical aspects of data and AI. But I also realized that there are things that I had always wanted to do. There are certain other skills that I want to learn apart from data analysis and apart from science and technology. So I am spending little bits of my time now reading more, writing more poetry. Yes, I'm becoming like a bit more in touch with my hopelessly romantic side. So I kind of take this opportunity to learn other things as well, maybe softer skills. But I think all of us must have different hobbies and must have different likes that we want to do. So I would say we should continue to learn, whatever that skill is. You never know. 6 months down the road, some of you here might be doing something that you could never have imagined. But because you are learning now and because you are investing your time and your effort, actually, I think somewhere along the line, our brains will kind of make a connection and realize that, hey, this is what I want to pursue and this is what I really want to do. So by that time, hopefully you would be more stable, and if the economy is better, then that would be a perfect time to start something new. I think the scary factor will always be there. Whenever we embark on something new, as humans, we are fearful. I think that's the norm. But I agree with what Jeevan said. Having a good support structure, having good people around you, actually really helps. So I'm really quite blessed to have had good partners with me in my entrepreneurial journey, and to have had good people by my side. Rahul including. I think Rahul, you're actually a very big inspiration. You know, I don't normally say this, but today I'm saying it. I had always admired you actually through the years that we've worked together in the community. So I think having good people, it's true, around us truly helps us with the fear and the anxiety. And after you overcome the fear and anxiety, I think you realize that actually there are many things that we can do. And who knows, we might be greater than what we thought we could be.
I could not have agreed more. I think, you know, a caterpillar just has to go into its cocoon sometimes to come out as a butterfly. It's as simple as that. There's no way that life is going to be a normal and we're going to come out as a better version of ourselves. I was having a conversation sometime back with someone about this whole idea of growth versus survival. That should we focus on growth and thriving, or should we focus on surviving? And you know, I'm a strong believer that I think the focus should always be on survival, because as counterintuitive as it might be, it is actually survival that helps to lead to evolution, because survival is the most strongest incentive we have to evolve, right? Because every time we put ourselves in survival mode, we're going to push ourselves harder to learn, to adapt, to grow, so that we come out stronger or something. So I'm a huge proponent of survival versus, because focusing on growth means you'll reach a point of contention, right? At some point, you're going to say, okay, you know what? I've already achieved something, so I'm happy. And that leads to complacency. But if you're always in survival mode, you're always evolving. So learning new skills is definitely been at top of the discussion so far, and advice for entrepreneurs and freelancers. We've heard from all our panelists. So since we are on that, I think I can quickly say a lot of free content is going around out there today. Avail yourself. A lot of this is from very credible institutions. I know for a fact that Harvard has opened up a lot of their courses for free for this period of time. So you can just go sign up and get involved in them. These are 4-week to 8-week courses, and they're really, really good courses, from everything from scriptural studies of different faiths to communication skills to technical skills. Harvard has them. Today I came across an advertisement from Cambridge. So Cambridge is opening up their programs online. So there are a lot of content that's going on. Avail yourself to it. Get in touch with Skills Future Singapore. Look at what's available out there. I'm pretty sure that they've got a good amount. Everybody has got their $500 Skills Future credits. Use them wisely, please. Unless you want to be a baker, don't go and learn baking skills. Put that money towards something that's going to value add to you, so that you can value add to others. Because Imran told us about that earlier. One of the first questions you ask yourself is, what can I and how can I add value to the people around me? So these are some of the very salient points that have come out of the discussions up to this point. So let's go back to the topic, right? How do we get these businesses? How do we get these entrepreneurs? How do we get freelancers to leverage the online space? Face-to-face communication has come down. We are not interacting physically anymore. We're not meeting up at coffee shops, Starbucks, Coffee Bean anymore. You know, we're not doing all the cafe hopping anymore throughout the day. Co-working spaces are also shut. So the online sphere is the only place that we have today on keeping in touch with our stakeholders, our vendors, our suppliers, our customers. Most importantly, sales, right? So Imran, let's come into that with you. What would be your advice? What would be certain things that they can do to start if they have not yet started? If they are very new to this online game, what would be a good starting point? What are some platforms they can explore? What are some tools they can explore? What are some strategies that they can explore?
So let me just say this: like I sit on the board of a chamber of commerce. So it's a Malay chamber of commerce, and for years we've been telling people to go online, use government money, use safe, pre-approved solutions, go online, and it's kind of like only when crisis hits then people say, okay, so what's available now? And it's kind of like a few steps too late. So I think it's what I would like to reiterate is that these cycles will always carry on. The opportunities will always be there. For example, if you are an F&B entrepreneur, if you have an outlet that is now reduced in terms of footfall by more than 90%. You have local media and influencers like Mothership, Miss Tamcha, you have Chop and Save, you have all these groups that say, hey, we want to support F&B outlets, and all you need to do is to be resourceful, to not say it's doom and gloom, to actually say what is out there, look around, research, listen, and then just say, hey, I've got a business, here it is, and suddenly you have a few avenues of help, of channels, of people that are going to market your business for free. On a chamber basis, because this year the Geylang Bazaar has been cancelled. So the Malay Chamber was actually going to be one of the companies that we tendered to be the master tenant, so that we can bring all our Malay businesses into the bazaar. And then it was cancelled. So now you have a few hundred businesses, many of which a large chunk of their revenue comes from this 1 month in the year. So you talk about 80-20 rule, 80% of their business comes from this 1 month. And now suddenly they all don't have that avenue, they don't have that revenue, and people are going, what do we do now, right? And my first order of the day was to tell people, don't try to build a platform from scratch. So there's a whole bunch of people now that are saying, hey, I'm gonna build this online Ramadan Bazaar. It's too late. It's way too late. But we can do it if someone like the chamber, or let's say 50 business owners come together and say, hey, let's talk to Lazada and let's create a bazaar with Lazada, right? So like use the power of a group and go to a platform that already exists with consumers that are already there, who already have proven buying behavior, and just leverage the platform as opposed to spending months trying to figure out how to build something from scratch. So I think it's very important to understand that for every industry or vertical that you're going into, there's most likely something that already exists that you can essentially plug and play. For example, if you're a freelancer like Jivanjot, you can go to somewhere like Upwork, somewhere like Fiverr, you can list all your services and you can get clients from the US and the UK hiring you like tomorrow, right? In fact, now is the best time as a freelancer to negotiate work from home contracts, because companies have no other choice. So my wife is work from home. My wife used to be a marketing manager at Procter & Gamble. And my wife just secured a 1 day a week marketing retainer for $1,000 a month, which is not bad for a work from home mom with 2 infants to manage, right? So, and it's probably a lot less work than what other people have to do today. So I think, again, number one is about not being complacent. I think back to your point, Rahul, about not being complacent. I respectfully have to say that I think it's not necessarily from a whole survival, we're going to die, or if we don't protect our rice bowl or we don't eat other people's rice bowl, kind of like, I think we can be healthy, we can be loving, we can be kind, and yet still push boundaries, right? I think that there is a fine balance that we can still strive towards. But if we're constantly looking for that next avenue, we will be able to find it. And I think it doesn't need to take a crisis for it to jolt us into a state where, okay, I have to do something now. So I think it's about having resourcefulness, because the crisis only amplifies the complacency, the misalignments, and the problems that already exist. So if you hate your job, guess what? You're going to be the bottom 10% that gets fired. If you're not in a business that you love, you're doing it just because you think you're going to make some money, again, most likely you're going to be in the bottom X percentile, and most likely you're going to become redundant, right? So I think it's about finding an area where, hey, we have some alignment, I have a value to add, there is people who need this service, and then what are the avenues out there? What already exists? Upwork, Fiverr, Shopee, Lazada. There's so many avenues out there if we only just research, ask around, network, and I think many people don't do it until it's too late. So I think I've mentioned a lot. I think it really depends, and I actually haven't seen any questions from the audience about any specific industries or any specific areas they're looking for, because I think the listings are endless, right? I think if you have a very specific question, I've got a furniture business, I've got a whatever business, I teach art, or like I think there are many different areas, but without going into specifics for like 100 different industries, that is essentially the mindset I think people need to adopt.
Yeah, I like what I'm hearing, Imran. So a couple of things. Number one, it's not about Hunger Games survival, it's about compassionate survival. So it's about surviving collectively and making sure we bring the entire tribe together with us. That was a very good reminder and a very good point. So it's not about making sure that I'm just looking into my space and my own rice bowl, but I'm looking into making sure that I am also helping and value adding and contributing to the ecosystem at large around me as well. I think that's a very important and valuable point, because that leads to the second point, right? Again, this whole idea of community is coming forward. Whether you are a group of 50 business owners who are going to go and have some standing to talk to an organization. So Imran mentioned Lazada, for example. Chances are if you as an individual business, especially if you're a small, medium business, to go to Lazada and say, hey, can we run this with you? It may not be very appealing to them. But if a group of 50 of you go, it might become a lot more exciting for them as well as a platform, because now you're bringing some value to their audience. So collectivity, community, bending together becomes very important at this point in time. So having a strong support system, a strong ecosystem becomes extremely valuable. In order for you to do that, really, I think Imran also mentioned about going out there and researching. And one of the best ways you can research is to talk to people, ask questions. You'll be surprised that in this kind of times when you go out to a person and say, hey, how do you do this? People are very open and willing to share sometimes. In fact, most of the time, that's something that I have learned over this period of time. In fact, in the last 2 weeks alone, we have been doing this rostering of this panel on a day-to-day basis. So sometimes it's like just 3 hours before the panel, I'm going up to a person and say, hey, would you like to be on in 3 hours time? And they're like, sure, why not? So if before this, I would never have done that. I would have always been in that mindset of, you know what, you got to give people a week's notice. But because the situation is so dynamic at this point in time, we do not know what's going to come up tomorrow. Will be a good topic to have tomorrow. We are really rostering day to day, and I'm pleasantly surprised that people, if they have the time, if they don't have prior commitments, they are more than willing to oblige and come and add value. So asking is good. It's healthy. Having those conversations is sometimes important. Go out there, talk to people. You cannot do physical networking, but you can always do social networking online. Get on board, use of social media pages, because the more you talk to people, the more learning there's going to be. Everybody is doing something right. So if you can get what everybody is doing right and piece it together, I think that's going to be adding a lot of value to us at the same time. So thank you, Imran. I mean, those are really, really very good points. Hamidah, what have you been doing? Have you seen a boost in business because suddenly everybody wants to go and can get data and have the data analyzed? And how have you been making sure that you have been putting the right cushioning in your business as well to be able to tide through this period till it's in recovery stage?
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, okay, I've unmuted. It's interesting you asked that question. So in all honesty, the interesting thing about my business is that I felt that so I've actually been working through December all the way till now, because I realized that, the nature of my business is online. We have an AI system, and that's also based on a cloud. So in a sense, there's no business disruption per se. I saw that note, Imran. But it was just interesting to see that in terms of market research, in terms of people wanting to know things, it's the demand is still there. So December, January, February, March, April, and what I did was also to negotiate with a couple of my larger clients that this one you have to open your mouth and ask lah. So it's true. You've just got to open your mouth and say that, would it be okay if we were to do a project slightly earlier, and if the company could be paid a bit earlier by May as opposed to June or July. So at least at the back of my mind, I feel a bit more assured that there is money in the kitty. And actually, the sensing that this would happen, I think it was a gut feel already sometime in Jan-Feb, that I sense, that something of this nature would have happened. So I think that was why I subconsciously told myself to work much, much harder. I don't know whether that's a good thing to say here, but that was just, I think, a kind of a reflex action to know that something not very good is going to happen soon. So I've just got to tell myself, okay, you've just got to work harder now to cover and protect the company at all costs. So at least I know that in the next 3 months or so, things will be okay. Of course, it can always be better. I mean, who doesn't like more business, right? But I think preparing early, that's one of the things that's very important. And also to certain things that is happening now, to be honest, were things that I had planted 1.5 years ago. Meaning that they were clients or they were possible contacts that I already had and that I was already working with. So when this COVID thing happened, I think just slightly, I think a month before, I already started making certain phone calls, asking, whether we could be granted certain projects. And in all honesty, I think people are kinder and a bit more compassionate now. They understand the struggles that we are facing, especially as business owners and entrepreneurs. So truth be told, I think sometimes you just got to open your mouth and ask lah. And I think whatever context that you've had in the last 2 years, it is also a good time to call them. Sometimes maybe not to ask for business, but really just to establish the emotional connection and to re-establish the relationship. I don't know, maybe I'm a bit different. I do not always talk about business all the time, because I think that even for my clients, they are also human beings. I guess you've just got to relate to them as a human. Business can and will come thereafter, I think. But I think as what Imran say, if you give value, naturally, I think people will come to you and people will ask. So in times like this, it's two things. It's not just about business, but I think it's about being human as well. It's about caring about the other party. It's about caring about your clients. If there are things that maybe it's not even stipulated in your contract, but if you can help them with 1 or 2 things behind the scenes, go and do it. Really, just give and do it. Just do it for free, because you never know when you might get something business wise in return. So I always believe in the value of growing that relationship, treating the other party as a human, and I would say forward planning, but I think that has also been talked about earlier. So I guess those are the 3 things. Over to you, Rahul.
Wonderful. Ask and receive. It's so important. I think, a lot of times freelancers and entrepreneurs just don't ask enough. There's always this there's always a shyness when it comes to asking the right questions, or asking for help or asking for support. It becomes an ego game. I think entrepreneurs sometimes fall into this trap of failing to allow themselves to be vulnerable. But the reality is all of us have our moments of needs, and we are not perfect. None of us are so complete on our own that we don't need help from outside. So it's good to forge those collaborations, friendships, partnerships, so that when you ask, there's support available for us to ask and receive, whether it's for support, whether it's for help, whether it's for guidance, whether it's for mentorship, or whether it's for sales. I think it's very, very important. Planting seeds reminded me of something interesting that happened. I actually got in touch with a client I've been pursuing for the last 3 years. And it's been very evasive, right? The contact point just keeps changing. Every time somebody else comes in new, they don't know who you are, so they got no incentive to reply to your emails or your messages. So it just becomes very cold again. So you've got to work that lead, and then by the time you get warm with them, someone else comes in or they transfer to a different department. So it's been 3 years in the making. And at the start of this, towards the mid of March, I actually reached out to that contact, the last contact that I had. And she said she has left the company. She connected me to a friend, and I got in touch with a friend. I picked up the phone and I called her and said, hey, you know what? We are all in this situation right now, and I would really love to talk to you about what kind of classroom-based workshops we can run for your stakeholders. But the reality is that's not going to be very possible at this point in time. Having said that, where are you at in regards to gearing your company towards online trainings? So that your staff can still keep upskilling and upgrading themselves. And one of them, and she instantly paused and said, you know what, actually, we have not thought about that yet. I said, then can we partner with you and help you to curate some of that thing? And she said, well, we don't want a lot of content, but let's try with one thing first. So within that week alone, we managed to talk about what their needs are, get a production crew ready together, and actually shot a full-fledged 8-hour storytelling session for our employees, which is cut up into 4 different segments. And they paid us a good amount of a 5-figure deal for doing that for them. So it was simply asking. It was just going out there and asking the right question, and you receive. If I had not picked up the phone, I had not called, I would have never gotten that. Right. So it has always been a good reminder to ask and receive, and I love that bit. Every time we remind people that you got to ask. So Hamidah, thank you for bringing that back to us. So nicely. And the second part about treating people like human beings. My mentor once told me, in business relationships, put relationships before business. I think that's an advice that has done me a lot of good over the years. You never talk about business first, right? You always build that relationship first. And Imran, you are really into that now with the BNI setup and everything. You want to share with us a bit more about that?
Funny that you mentioned that, because both Hamidah and I are in the same BNI. But it's something that is we traditionally have been doing for face-to-face networking for a long time. It's been, I think, 25 years of face-to-face networking all around the world. And it's really only because of this crisis that all the chapters around the world actually went fully online. We're doing our presentations online. In fact, anyone who's interested to network with me and Hamidah tomorrow with about 50 plus other business, Rahul, you too, you can join us tomorrow morning. It's my presentation tomorrow. And
Rahul has his baby. I asked him already.
I also have babies. so the issue is, I think, there are always avenues to transform. I saw a question from Theodore about training and all that. I mean, there's so many platforms, Udemy, Coursera. If you want to build your own online program, your own landing pages, your own membership site, there are loads of different platforms that you can do, like Thinkific, or there's just many platforms you can do. And I think we have to really ask ourselves, what is the objective of the training? Is it to travel, or is it to really add value to the organization, to improve bottom line, to fix certain gaps in the skills, or fix certain things in our performance? But I think there's always a solution online. I think this is a time where we are starting to realize that, hey, there are no more excuses to doing things in a new way. There are a lot of benefits going online. I don't have to travel out to my appointments. I don't have to leave my kids. Of course, there are many things that you cannot do. I cannot spend 8 hours in my room not seeing my kids at all. So I think there are certain things that you need to adapt when you actually go online. But I think it's definitely something, especially as educated, smart, resourceful Singaporeans or Singapore residents in this room, we are more than capable of doing.
Great, thank you, Imran. Theodore, coming back to your question, I think it's a very, very good question. What are the different platforms available specifically for the training market and segment? Good to know that I think it's a very mature space. It's not a new space. I think that's great because it creates a lot of opportunities for us. So Imran mentioned a few, and there are really a lot. There's Udemy, there is Coursera, there is LearnWorld, there is a whole chunk of platforms that can really be explored for retailing online courses, or if you really want to have more cost optimized or revenue optimized solutions, then creating your own platforms is not a bad idea either. It's just that I think we were just discussing this before the call just now, that marketing cost is going to get a lot more expensive because the place is becoming more crowded. So your customer acquisition cost or your lead acquisition cost is definitely going to go up a whole lot higher than what it probably was just before this, or even 5 or 8 years ago. Good thing is, on Thursday, we are going to be running a session specifically for trainers and speakers on how do you create content and market your content online, right? So this is going to happen on Thursday. So Theodore, if you're interested in specifically for training, then do join us on Thursday. We're going to have people who have been doing great on YouTube, on doing online learning and designing, and we're also going to have a videographer on to teach us how to record and edit good online resource materials or videos, because I think everybody wants to see something that's well structured and polished. So so that is something that I think will be useful for you specifically. Other than that, let's hear from Jivan. Jivan, how do we get onto social media? What are going to be your tips and secrets for freelancers, for entrepreneurs on distinguishing themselves in this crowded space online?
Okay, so so to start off for entrepreneurs, those startups and freelancers, it'll be good if you start up on a LinkedIn page, because there's a lot of business owners on LinkedIn. They need to, on LinkedIn, you have to be specifically, you have to tell your skills, your skill set, what you're good at, so the company knows know what they want to. Let me just think. Sorry, yeah. So actually, I'm talking about basically branding yourself on LinkedIn. You have to tell your skills, but you have to be very specific on that area. And from what I learned from before in my LinkedIn class, which with one of my coaches, is say fill in all the gaps, tell all your skills, and the company will come looking for you. So as a freelancer, and you know what your you know what skills you have, there will be people who will be searching for you. Mainly some could be self-employed coaches. If you are coaches who are not very good on the social media, on how to what content they need to post, but they have all the training, the course line in their mind. Actually, they know what, but they don't know how to say it out on the social media. They might be able to find you on LinkedIn, and then they say they connect with you, and the freelancer might be able to help the coach or trainer to be able to brand, to be able to like create course content for them. And also I'm basically telling also my ideas on how to help coaches and trainers who's not very good in using social media. So for freelancer, they be able to display their skills. If they able to display their skills on LinkedIn, a lot of companies will go to them for marketing specialty if they are in the marketing niche, or if they know more on social media, that would be great. Can help promote businesses, small businesses. Other than that, um, so for the coaches and trainers, I can also tell some ideas. If you're not very sure on what content or what headlines you want, you can actually search it on Amazon. If you know your marketing, what is your specialty, you can find a book that's similar to your specialty, like self-development. You can find a book on that and find headlines on that. You'll be able to get content headlines for that, for your course material. And you can hire people from Fiverr to help you build your course outline, so you'll be able to um, do be able to get your course done for you. You just have to pay a bit of money only. So I can also, for video editors, you can go to Fiverr. Okay, so I am going a bit off topic. So um, for freelancers, and they'll be great because they have skills, video editing skills. Some of them are knowledge broker. They know how to help coaches, trainers to build course outlines, graphics. A lot of businesses like to have logos, or those startups, they want a logo done, a logo. Freelancers can just tell what skills they have on LinkedIn, or they can go to Fiverr, display their skills. They will be able to get a lot of business opportunities there for startup entrepreneurs. Um, what I can say for startup entrepreneurs, if they brand themselves well on LinkedIn, they'll be able to get a lot of business partners. Um, and you can do on Facebook. Facebook is also good to connect to a bigger audience of those of your targeting niche. If you're selling health products, you can sell it on Facebook. Uh, Health products, because there's a lot of Facebook groups on health and wellness. Uh, there will be a lot of technical terms. You can join a Facebook group on health and wellness if you're selling health product. This is for those entrepreneurs who's in the health and wellness industry. And also, I mean, social media is a very useful tool to help a lot of entrepreneurs and freelancers. Freelancers can be hired by anyone to help them market their product or create graphics and help they brand themselves online better. I mean, it's a okay. So that's about it, lah. Sorry for taking your time.
Hey, no
That's
worries.
about it. There's a
No,
lot of things I want to say. It's in my mind, jumbled, got a lot of information I want to
it's
tell
a
to everyone.
no worries. It's a big domain. So I'm
It's a
pretty sure
very
that you
big
won't be
domain.
able.
It's a very big
Yeah.
domain.
So there's no way we're going to be able to cover everything for sure. But you brought some really
Yeah,
good points
yeah,
depending on the specific
yeah,
and the industries that we are in. LinkedIn, I think it becomes an essential thing for entrepreneurs, for startups. You got to have some presence over there, list down your skills, have a nicely written profile that demonstrates your abilities. You can get some testimonials on board and recommendations, and that's always useful as well. So LinkedIn is a must have for any entrepreneur, any freelancer. Network over there, get people engaged through regular postings and sharings and value creation through whatever you're putting up. That blatant promotions don't work. So do not just blatantly go online just to promote yourself, but actually create value. Understand
yeah,
what do people look for. What kind of questions would they want to ask you? Write articles and give suggestions for those kind of things. That's always very useful. Facebook is great for engaging your people through pages, groups, profile pages. Get onto Facebook. Make sure again you're socializing. I think one important tip to remember when you're on Facebook is what Hamidah said. Don't talk about business always. Build those relationships, show a bit more of your own personal, individual personalities, so that it helps to give people avenue to create connections. So that's useful in terms of platforms. The platforms like Fiverr, Imran also mentioned Upworks earlier. So there are many of those sites, freelancer.com. There are tons of those sites that you can get onto, list your products and services over there, so that you can get some business opportunities that are coming into you. So I think the online space, the great thing is it's there. The platforms are already been tried, tested. We are not starting from scratch again. Building your own platforms may be expensive when we are in a situation that we are in right now, where the turnaround time is the turnaround time needs to be quick. We don't have the luxury of spending 6 months or a year beta testing ideas and platforms and bringing it to market after that, where it has to be an immediate turnaround. The good thing is to always leverage an existing platforms rather than creating whole new platforms. So like what Theodore asked earlier, what kind of platforms are there available? You got Coursera, you got Udemy, you have got WSG also has their, I think IAL helps to list courses as well. There are course retailers in Singapore like CCISG, for example. So there are a whole ton of these groups that are there. They may not always be able to market it for you as effectively because of the volume that they represent. But what you could do is you could list your products there and do your own marketing. But at least you save on creating your own platforms or your own infrastructure. So yes, you give them a larger cut of a percentage because they're hosting it for you, but you save that money on developing your own infrastructure. You can spend more time marketing and doing what you love doing. So until you reach a point where you can then create your own websites and your own portals and your own funnels and your own systems. So leverage on what's existingly available. So I think those are really, really good points. I think we have had quite a good discussion. My key takeaways so far have been that number one, be aware of where you are at in your current situation and scenario. Number two, you do not want to be into a position where you are jolted or forced to make the shift and change. So if you are going to make the shift and change, and do it because you genuinely see the purpose and the value in doing it. And when you see the purpose and value in doing so, ask yourself one very important question. How am I adding value in this new dimension, this new world, this new normal that we are going to be facing? It's very important. It cannot be business as usual. Just because this is my existing business, that does not mean that it's going to continue being your existing business. Your business will have to transform, will have to evolve to meet the current scenario, the current requirement. Remember, businesses are there to serve the profile audience that you are targeting towards. So you can understand what their needs and wants are at this point in time and cater towards that. So businesses need to be fluid, they need to adapt, and they have to transform. So although you may be, some of us, for example, may be selling peanuts. The reality is the online space, you're not going to be able to sell kacang putih peanuts in a paper cone. You will have to go into packaging, for example. So things will have to change. And it cannot remain status quo. So you've got to really sit down, reflect, and see how you want to change this and whether it's even viable and sustainable or not, because you might even have to hop onto an entirely new business if what you're doing currently is not going to be sustainable in the new environment. Have the tough conversations with yourself and also the people around you. Be open, be vulnerable, ask and receive help, feedback, mentorship, guidance. It's all available out there. Get online. It's a big animal. So Google, research, again, talk to people. Do connect with our panelists today. I'm sure they'll be very happy to have conversations with you. Don't take up too much of their time if you're not paying them a fee. All right, but do ask them questions. Or you can always build relationships with them and ask them for a virtual coffee. So I leave it up to you guys. Do connect with them. I think that will be useful. And most importantly, remember one thing. It's a positive outlook. This is a period of incubation. This is a period of slowdown. This is where we pause so that we get to transform, we get to evolve, and we're going to come out stronger at the end of this. Let's have some final words from our panelists, a minute or so from each of them. Jeevan, let's start with you.
Can you repeat that question? I didn't get that. Sorry.
Any last words for our audience?
Okay. Any last words? Just be positive. This circuit breaker is actually a time and most people should upgrade themselves, learn new things. Just use YouTube, Google on, if you're not very sure on things, you can Google it. And that's about it. Just start learning. Just start learning new things. And if you're not sure, ask people for their help. There's a lot of people that have a giving heart. They want to help others more often, like myself. I truly like to help you guys also, those who are struggling right now. That's about it.
Thank you, Jeevan. Hamidah.
It's really, really wonderful to have this conversation tonight. Um, if anything, I think I've really learned a lot from yourself, Rahul, Jeevan, and even Imran. Um, I think the I think it's always very important to have this spirit of being open to new possibilities and being open to learning things that might not traditionally have been in our comfort zones. But I think when we're open to new possibilities, and when we actually open our hearts, I think that things can magically happen. Um, so I know times may not be as good as it was, but I think if we were to take things positively and we were to just sometimes there's a saying which says just need to let go and let God. Sometimes I think that's exactly what we need to do. Hard work, of course. I think everyone here in this room works very hard, but sometimes we just got to open up, expect new things to happen. We may never know what dreams may come. Over to you.
Thank you, Hamidah. Imran, over to you, buddy.
I think my key message is that whoever is on the call, you're not alone. I think we're all on the same boat. We're all experiencing this. I think we can choose whether we want to feel unresourceful, helpless, stuck, or realize that we have a lot of strengths, we have a lot of resources. This is a really great opportunity. If anyone on this call reached out to anyone else on this call, or to reach out to anyone else on LinkedIn or in Singapore, most people would say, hey, yeah, let's jump on a call, right? Because everyone's trying to figure this out right now. No one has the answer. And so this is the best time to connect. This is the best time to innovate. This is the best time to look for resources. This is the best time to leverage other people's resources, just like we are on this call. So I think there's a lot of good that comes out of it. And if we can learn the lessons this time, I think the next time any of these kind of waves happen, we can start to realize, hey, we prepared for that. Like, I've learned how to be resourceful. I've learned how to leverage my strengths. I've learned how to innovate. I've learned how to be prepared before I'm forced to be to move. I'm forced to change. So I think this is the time. Just like everyone's been saying, reboot, recharge, rejuvenate. I think this is the time to really look internally, to have that resources and just move forward, and just know that we're not alone.
Great. Thank you so much, guys. I think I'm going to leave it at that, because those were very wise words from Imran, that remember, at the end of the day, we are not alone, right? So I think social media has been around for a long time, but I think we have never used social media to socialize the way we are right now. So let's continue to tap on it, grow on it, learn, keep learning. It's a whole new world. It's a whole new world. Okay, this is the last time you're going to hear me singing online, guys. Thank you all so much for joining in on this call. This will be uploaded on YouTube later on. So for those of you who are watching online, do share what your takeaways have been in the comment section below. And do like and subscribe. And also do get in touch with our panelists as well. I think that's going to be very useful. Next 2 days is going to be interesting. Tomorrow we are talking about the power of community. And on Thursday we are talking about how do you actually create, produce, and market your content online, especially if you're a trainer and speaker. So that's going to be a wrap up of this series, and then we're going to go on to do other things. So we've been doing this for 2 weeks. It has to have a closure. So on Thursday is going to be the last of the episodes that we're going to shoot for this particular series, but we're going to continue our regular Up Your Game programming after that. So stay tuned, guys. Thank you very much. Have a great evening. See you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.